What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to a Football Manager 2019 video where we are going to be putting the FM database to the test, seeing how it thinks the Premier League season for the 2018-19 season is going to pan out. I do hope you enjoy this. This perhaps a video more so geared towards those of you who haven't picked up FM19 yet, or indeed maybe don't even play Football Manager, but it's always fun to see how the game predicts will things will pan out. Of course, Football Manager prides itself on its database, on its accuracy, on its researchers, and it's sometimes funny to see what weird and wonderful things it thinks could happen in the coming season. So anyway, as you can see on screen here, we are at the end of the season. It's the start of June, and while Manchester United return to Premier League glory, the first time they have won the title in the last 6 years, and they did so by 1 point over Manchester City. And, well, you can see here, looking at it, a draw for Manchester United against Bournemouth was enough, barely. If they'd lost that game against Bournemouth at home, it would have been enough to see City leapfrog them on goal difference. Manchester City swalloping West Ham 3-0, but that was not enough there. Elsewhere, you can see Liverpool finished third on 81 points, so still a pretty good points haul, to be honest, at 81. And Arsenal not far behind to round up the top four. So Mourinho leading the way. I'm assuming he isn't going to get sacked like it looks like he may well do in real life. In Football Manager, they think he's going to do okay, which I don't think is necessarily an unfair assessment. At the start of the season, I feel like very few people would have thought Manchester United would be perhaps going through quite what they're going through at the moment. Elsewhere in the league, you can see here, Tottenham Hotspur finishing 5th on 72 points, Chelsea a little way behind on 66 points, and Everton rounding up the European spots, finishing 7th place. Elsewhere in the relegation zone, Huddersfield, Cardiff and Newcastle, the three sides going down. And I'm going to be honest, out of the kind of top 7 and the bottom 3, I don't think it's that unrealistic. Everton, perhaps, I wouldn't expect to see quite as high as 7th based off what we've seen from them in real life. But certainly the likes of Newcastle, Cardiff and Huddersfield don't seem like the most unreasonable predictions in terms of teams that aren't going to make the cut this year in the Premier League. Anyway, looking at player stats here, we'll go through some of these. Top goal scorer in the competition was Mohamed Salah, of course, the Liverpool man. Top goal scorer last season. Harry Kane down in 5th, a little bit surprising. Only 16 goals for him. Elsewhere, though, slightly higher up, Sergio Aguero on 19 goals. Chris Wood also on 19 goals. Apparently, Burnley's goal-scoring hero is going to be Chris Wood. I mean, that's what the game is saying. I feel like Chris Wood always does fairly well in FM. Burnley, a side with not necessarily the craziest striking options, but they do have some very good crosses of the ball, which of course plays into an aerial player like Chris Wood. Also can see here, Bobby Firmino on 18 goals too. That's pretty impressive. Liverpool with 2 of the top dogs when it comes to goal scorers in the league, and you can see 18 goals, 8 assists as well. And while speaking of assists, David Silva leading the way there, 14 assists to his name in 34 appearances. The Spaniard, a player who some would argue is on his way out, not necessarily as a player, but entering that age of 33, 34, he's slowly going to now be slowing down a little, but at least in FM, it doesn't think there's any signs of him slowing down quite this season, which is nice to see. Juan Mata in second. In fact, you can see here a 4-way tie for second with Juan Mata and Mesut Ozil, who I don't think are necessarily big surprises, but then Lemina and also Lewis Cook up there, of course. Lemina playing for Southampton, the Gabonese international, and Lewis Cook, a young English player who, of course, there's a little bit of hype behind, making his England debut during the season. And he looks like he's been a top player for Bournemouth. You can see here 11 assists, 3 goals. Not a bad return there at all. And slightly further behind we have Idrissa Gueye, who I'd say that's a pretty interesting one on the assists front. He's not exactly a player known for his creative ability, but apparently in this Everton side, Gueye is going to have some fun. Then Willian on 9 and Salah on 8 as well. Pretty impressive there. In terms of the big standout performers, Salah and Firmino right up there with the average rating, but perhaps the standout player, Eden Hazard. And I don't think that's that unfair, to be honest. Of course, Hazard this year has been on fire for Chelsea. He is one of the key components behind the Chelsea side. And in Football Manager, it is no different whatsoever. You can see here, he has got a 7.66 rating, 16 goals, 5 assists, 12 player of the matches. That average rating is absurd. He is doing so much for his team. Absolutely mad stats for him. You can see that's better than last season in real life, and playing all but one game. Impressive, you know, stayed fit for the whole of it and consistently turned up with those numbers. In terms of red cards, I have to point this out. Paul Pogba, 3 red cards for the season for Paul. 10 goals from centre mid is really impressive. The 3 red cards is a little bit questionable, and 4 assists. It's not great. The goals are good, but 3 red cards for the Frenchman. Perhaps not the shining light in this United team. But, well, in terms of games won, you can see here De Gea on 26 leading the way there. In terms of games lost, it's not looking good for the relegated sides, is it? Right, let's have a look at award winners here. So in terms of the Golden Glove Award, it of course went to De Gea. Alisson Becker finishing second, with Hugo Lloris in third. De Gea winning it for a 2nd year in a row. In terms of Footballer of the Year, it has gone to Mohamed Salah again. So back-to-back for him. Is that going to happen? I mean, it's not quite the numbers he put in the previous season, but 21 goals and 8 assists and a 7.76 average rating is not too shabby. Manager of the Year went to Jose Mourinho. I mean, considering how things are going in real life, a little bit odd, that one perhaps. Managers of the Month, you can see here, Sean Dyche did pretty well. He got it for May at Burnley. The only other surprise really, I guess, is Fulham. You can see appearing here. But besides that, kind of the usual suspects. I guess maybe a little bit odd that Mourinho only got 1 Manager of the Month, considering they won the league. But, well, he did get the Manager of the Year, which I guess is the thing that matters the most. In terms of top goal scorers, you can see here, of course, Salah on 21 goals. A pretty low tally. You can see Nicolas Anelka in 08-09, the last player to score less than 21 goals and, well, get top goal scorer. So a little bit surprising perhaps that there wasn't more standout players. In terms of other awards we've got going on here, Best Young Player went to Leroy Sané for another year, so that's kind of impressive for him. In terms of the Players' Team of the Year, De Gea in goal, the back 4. Lindelof playing very well, apparently, for Manchester United at right back, which is interesting. A 7.05 rating for him. Not necessarily standout, but perhaps the best of the league. That midfield, very, very stacked. Hazard, Matic, Silva and Salah. Interesting to see Matic in there, of course, a player formerly of Chelsea. A 7.22 average rating for him. It looks like just across the board, United played very, very well. Sometimes you see teams kind of rely on 1 or 2 kind of players to really make the difference. Here you can see Lukaku, Alexis Sanchez, Mata, Rashford. Lots of players in double figures for goals, and that certainly makes things easier for you when it comes to the league. In terms of the Players' Player of the Year, it went to Salah again. I think we've been through a lot of this stuff when it comes to the awards now. In terms of overall stats, you can see here, most goals was Manchester City with 80. Liverpool with 73, Arsenal with 66. Interesting to see United only down on 61 goals, scoring 19 less than City, who finished second. But if I had to guess, if we look at goals conceded, yeah, you can see here United's defence impenetrable. 20 goals conceded across the season. The next best was 27 by Liverpool, and 21 clean sheets for Manchester United. Only Liverpool getting even close to that. But yeah, more than half the games being clean sheets. Really impressive there. Average possession, City, Liverpool, United showing that possession really does matter. Interesting to see that Brighton, 7th in terms of average possession, but only down on 50%. But outside of the perhaps usual suspects, they are the standout performers in that regard. Elsewhere, most passes completed. Liverpool, maybe a little bit interesting to see that kind of completion ratio. Crosses completed, Liverpool up there as well. I find that interesting given the fact they don't really have a big target man as such. But nevertheless, they're doing pretty well in that regard. And well, you can see here, Liverpool went 16 games without losing to end the season, whereas Fulham went 10 games without winning to end the season. Perhaps an indicator of why Fulham struggled so much towards the end of the season. You can see they only narrowly avoided the drop in the end. It's kind of usual that in the Premier League you need 38 points to be safe. But you can see this season 5 teams finishing below that threshold. And really it came down to the fact there were just so many draws this season. Palace, 16 games they drew from 14th. A really, really surprisingly large amount there. But they did make things work in the end, did Crystal Palace. And they did okay. Anyway, average attendance, as you can see, United leading the way. Tottenham, of course, in their new stadium. I imagine they started at Wembley for it and then moved into their new stadium. of course, in real life, it's widely reported the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium issues, which are currently ongoing. Hopefully, they can be resolved before too long, although I think it's just been announced today. It won't be until January now that they're going to be in their new stadium, which is a little bit surprising. In terms of other stuff, I'm sure there's stuff I've missed. If you've spotted anything as I've gone through the screens, please do let me know it. I always find it interesting to look at the media Dream 11 as this does change throughout the season. So in terms of the Dream 11, Alisson Becker in goal, Andy Robertson, Vertonghen, Van Dijk and Azpilicueta making up the defence. Interesting that there is no United player here, given the fact that Manchester United had such a good defensive record. The midfield, Hazard, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne. How did De Bruyne do? Not really seen a lot from him. A 7.44 rating, only 5 goals and 4 assists though. A little underwhelming there. What about Harry Kane? Of course, a player who's been consistently a very, very good player. Could only get 16 goals, which is his lowest total in the last 4 years. 2 assists as well, a little underwhelming. He did get a 7.42 average rating and 7 player of the matches, so when he scored, I imagine his goals were pretty darn important, but well, you can see just looking at it here, he's just not had that kind of real platform to grow off like the likes of Salah and Hazard have in similar roles in their team in terms of really being players who you expect to perform in order for the club to operate well. So anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up this video from me. Just a look through the Premier League simulated by Football Manager 2019. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you are new to the channel, please do leave a like on this video. In the future, we're going to have a video on the Bundesliga being simulated. I'm also going to be doing a mega simulation of all the leagues in the game that are playable loaded and holidaying through and seeing how the Qatar World Cup plays out, who qualifies, how the games get on. Obviously, it's going to be played in the winter, which should make things kind of interesting. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that one. And yeah, that is going to be all from me today. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. And other than that, it is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.